Hi everyone, welcome back, Linda. How are things?
Good, good. I feel indictments coming. I can smell it.
Yeah, me too. Yep, no question.
I was telling you that apparently his attorneys met with Jack Smith's peoples before today. It was a few days ago. Then
Mhm.
they met again um, today in Washington, D.C. I don't know if they met with Jack, but I was laughing because I thought, yeah, they're begging for mercy for Trump. And I hope Jack Smith said, hey, it'll be fun. Because remember, Trump just did a thing on his True Social. Hey, I can't wait for this. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's remarkable to me just how he behaves because I think he's so possessed by his anger that what he's doing with Jack Smith has to be counterproductive because he'll be aware of what he's saying. So at minimum, even if Jack Smith is a totally cool character, Smith will be thinking this guy's a danger to society. I mean, look what he's
Oh,
doing.
well, he's threatened him and his with his life and his family.
Right, right. So then there's that, and then look what he's doing with E. Jean Carroll, adding more money to the tab because
He
she's
can't
now
keep his
decided,
mouth
okay,
shut.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really remarkable just how unwise he is. But his cycles are, they're just not good. This is a really
They're
bad
going
situation.
downhill.
It's going down, and the timing of everything coalescing around August with these major movements in his chart, it's not a good scene. Like I'm actually amazed that there are some I don't know, readers, astrologers who see some kind of comeback. I mean, what comeback? Are you kidding? I mean, no way. I see this guy downtrending, into
He's
oblivion.
going down so hard.
Yeah.
But my question is, okay, based on his chart, could it possibly be that when he's indicted, they bring him in and actually, like, put him in detention of some sort?
With the aspect, the planetary cycles he has, anything negative is possible. It just would seem that probably wouldn't go that way because there's a lot of tension in the country around, he's created it himself. He's got all these people. I mean, I'm amazed. I don't know if you saw that figure. Someone said that there used to be 12 million people 2 years ago or whatever it was that wanted Trump restored to power using force. And now it's 18 million, right? 18 million
Wow.
people that think this way.
But how
So,
can that be? Because he asked for people to come to Florida. He asked for people to come to New York.
right.
But it's just a little scatter of people.
Well, that's the point. I mean, you're making the point right there, which is that sure, people say that in polls or say that in when they're asked, it gets out in there as a statistic. But then maybe the next question would be, are you willing to go and show up? And then I think many of them would say yes, but they don't go because they're seeing that you can get in trouble. I mean, in serious trouble. 4 years
Yeah.
in prison, 12 years in prison, even spending months in prison. Who wants to do that? Then you get a criminal record. It's just not a good idea. So that's why you're totally right. Florida, nobody showed up. New York, there was one guy covered from head to toe because you could only see his eyes, behind some kind of thing because he was scared to be on camera. Because last time the FBI used all the camera,
They're still arresting people. People are still going to jail.
exactly, yeah. So I mean, it's quite perilous, and people talk about civil war. How are you going to do a civil war? I'm not understanding
I
the
don't
logic of
either.
this.
We've got Navy, Marines, Army, tanks, jets. Who are
No, I
they
mean,
fighting with? It's
yeah, yeah. It's like I know quite a while back. I remember you saying that you thought there might be a second insurrection. I thought you had said that at one point, and that it would be stopped. Is that still coming through?
oh well, yeah. He's actually started a couple. He was trying to start a couple of them.
Mm,
But I saw okay. I see that there will be pockets of terrorists. And I see this is what I saw, and we'll see if it. I almost saw a group of terrorists, maybe even taking over a television station
mm,
and talking about you better let Trump blah 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 blah, something like that.
right.
But it's
That'll work.
nothing. I do not see Armageddon. This democracy will stay. In fact, it's going to improve. We're going to put those settings in now because it's unheard of. A president who comes in and says, I don't have to show you my tax records.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I
no,
promise I will, and I don't.
yeah, and I mean, when I was watching something a while back, you're looking at it and you're thinking, this is just so ham-handed, unbelievably stupid. This thing they did with the fake electors, like, how did you think that was going to work? How in your right mind did you believe? But this is what happens though when the leader is a tool, a clown. He inspires other people to think in this way. Not only that, notice that as time was passing, who was around them? They got stupider and stupider, right? Starts out
Yeah.
being they're just maybe really Republican. They believe in the same things he believes in, or at least what he was promoting. But then they start to disappear as they notice that they were breaking the law. And by the end, you have Sidney Powell, sipping some kind of Kool-Aid and quoting mysterious numbers that said, oh, he didn't listen to the Section 1854. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Is that is that aliens? Like, what are you talking about? She seemed really certain that there was something that he could have done to take over the whole country at that point. It doesn't occur to
And
her.
he kept pushing people out that tried to talk different to him.
Yeah, exactly. So now, how is it better now? It's not, because now there's an actual president with an actual rule of law, and there's an actual Justice Department. Even Bill Barr, when he was working with Trump, was not exactly at all a very good attorney general because he was actually helping Trump.
Right.
But by the end, I think with Bill Barr, by the way, I've said this a number of times, he's not a good guy in any way. I think he just realized he was going to go to jail because he's smart enough to know, wait a second.
They've always been bad. Every time I read on them.
Yeah. So, but I mean, when you're seeing him and many others, what about Mark Meadows? He's disappeared, right? Mark Meadows, it's pretty clear that Mark Meadows is ratted out Trump.
He
Pretty
sure
clear.
has. He gave them everything.
Yeah. And then now you see Giuliani saying that, oh, yeah, okay, well, it is true that I was lying about Shane Moss and Ruby Freeman, but what I understand that to mean is that he probably had to admit to Jack Smith that he had lied, so then he can't have that be the opposite in another case, right? So, I mean, like, these guys are all basically falling apart. Why? Because they've done things. I mean, this is not, people say, oh, your fate, your astrology chart is your fate. No, your astrology chart is mostly what you're doing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, too, is that are we going to get an apology from Trump?
An apology from Trump? Wow.
Towards those women that he accused of being thieves?
I don't know if you see that, but I think an apology from Trump is like if suddenly you saw
All
big
those
flying.
people came after these two women death threats because of what Giuliani and Trump said?
Yeah, no, well, I'm glad that they sued, and I hope they get a lot of money for it. I do.
They will. Well, especially since Giuliani admitted it was fake. And it makes Trump look bad. I don't care.
Yeah, no, the whole thing, I mean, it's coalescing. The point is you're seeing the rule of law as it's meant to be. This is how you would want to be treated. If you haven't committed a crime because there's no evidence, then you don't want to be harassed. And if you have, well, then that's what will happen. That's the logic,
But the next thing he's going to do is he's going to claim he followed his attorney's instructions. He's going to throw his attorneys under the bus next.
Yeah, and pretty soon there aren't going to be any attorneys left to throw under the bus because, the way it's going, most attorneys now, either because he doesn't pay or because they're realizing that it's damaging their reputation. So
oh yeah,
it's a really bad.
Nobody wants this case because they want a name for themselves. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, and they're trying the thing with attorneys, which again,
sorry.
Oops.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
Sorry, my phone went off. I forgot to turn it off.
No problem. So, attorneys, what I really object to, and I wish they would change the law. I don't know why they allow a person that is trained in law to go on TV and say things that are false. They just, they talk politically. It's very damaging. Like this new guy that he has, apparently he's pretty good. Some guy that I saw a clip of on Fox, and he's just BSing about what it means and how the whole thing is an attack on the ex-president. And, total BS, and that's allowed. And then he won't say that in court. Once he gets in front of the
Well,
judge,
the
then
thing is, he's that's the guy that's asking everybody on Fox, make them make this televised.
yeah, sure. I would say,
Televise this thing.
yeah, I would say yes,
We
please,
want it televised. I said, oh, hell yeah.
please, yeah,
I'm sure
totally.
Jack Smith would like it televised too.
Totally. Yeah, no, but that's like, these kinds of statements are like when Trump used to say, "Oh, I will go talk to Mueller, I'll straighten it all out." And apparently one of those lawyers said, "Yeah, if you go talk to Mueller in 15 minutes, you're in a jumpsuit. So you're not going to talk to Mueller, you're staying here." And he just says things but never does them. So it's all for like, remember when he used to say, "Oh, I'm going to sue all those women." He never sued anybody. Never.
No.
None of that happened. He says it for his base, so they go, "Oh, yeah, he's our guy, he's fighting." He's full of it, right? But once you end up in court, all that stops. Now you have to deal with facts.
Oh, I'm willing to guarantee that if they say, okay, let's televise this, because we'll show you this attorney said he wants to televise, Trump would fight it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's his lawyer, so I'm assuming that he'll tell his lawyer what he wants done. Yeah. So it's all in the messaging, and it can be effective, but there are limits, and we're seeing the limits, and the timing is horrible, around all of this coming together now. And even if he doesn't go down outright in these, like August, September, October, my sense is that later we will see that was the end at that point in the way things developed. Because, for example, this January 6th thing, I'm assuming Jack Smith is going to push really hard to get it into court sometime soon, next year. That's incredibly damaging. I don't know if you see, do you get a sense that perhaps it'll knock him out of the nomination process in some way?
That's what I felt, he thinks he's going to win for sure as president even.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's just TikTok. He's just, if I can get this stuff to hold on until I become president. But he's not going to win as president. So I don't know if I'm picking up that he becomes a person that runs and he loses. But I feel like he's like this big by the time we get to the presidential election. So either he's this big because he got kicked out.
Yeah, no, and by the way, there are attached patterns in that Putin over there in Russia, he is gambling that if he can hold on until Trump is reelected. The problem for Putin is that his plans get worse in 2025. See, that's when I look at that, I think, okay, this is another pointer to the Democrats winning that election, because if the planets were better for Putin, then you'd think, well, then Trump gets in, right? But also, how does Trump get in when his planets are really horrible?
Really bad.
Yeah, they're not good. So then how does this even work? All the patterns to me are against him. And don't forget the thing about health. The health is teetering. There's a problem there that could show up. By the way, that would be a great escape, right? Because for Trump to save face, the easiest way to save face is to say, I've developed a health problem and I can't run. Because then he doesn't have to say that I'm chickening out,
Right. How's Giuliani look?
Giuliani's is horrible. Giuliani's in a major jam that is going to take him past next year. It goes even into the years after that. This guy's never going to see the end of a courtroom, and he deserves it. Giuliani is like Trump. He's a total liar, gaslighter. And by the way, this kind of thing, I'm sure you'll agree, most people would agree, it's really mean-spirited and awful, to attack people like that and without any evidence. What he did to Shea Moss and Ruby,
Yeah.
Oh, she's carrying a USB drive, and she said, no, it was a ginger mint.
Ginger mint. And he said it was a cocaine.
Cocaine,
Cocaine, yeah.
And Trump's thing, I mean, you hear him on tape saying she moved around 18,000 votes, and some people are saying 56,000 votes. Yeah, and I know some people that are saying 256,000. Like, Donald, where do we stop with this BS?
And some people are saying I weigh 110 pounds,
I know.
You gotta believe.
I know, it's like he's the master of numbers, and the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger. And it's remarkable to me. Like, the thing he figured out, Trump's genius is he figured out that he was tapping into this grievance, mentality, which in itself is another joke, because you have to ask, what exactly are you aggrieved about? But he tapped into that, and he's running with it, and doesn't matter what he says, how completely incoherent it is, a big number of these people will follow him, right? But
Yeah.
that number is big, but it's not big enough, and that's the problem, right? I mean, you'd be scared. I would be scared to death if you said it's 55% of the country. Then we're screwed.
Then yeah.
But that's
The
not
other
what it
thing
is.
I'd be scared of is that every time he got arrested, there was huge crowds coming in.
I didn't see them. Did you? No.
We would all be nervous. Oh, what's going to happen next? No, he never got the huge crowds.
No, and this is the interesting thing about astrology. When he got into the presidency, he got in on a really really good Jupiter doorway of sorts, because it didn't last long. He was in a major amount of trouble very quickly. Some of it was from before, because this guy, he commits crimes constantly, so he had crimes from before. But then he started committing crimes immediately, and there was all kinds of pressure. That was Saturn 7 years ago. So now it's the return of that. Like, in other words, he's in years where there's a lot of Saturn pressure. Back then, remember that he spent the first 2 years, he didn't know what was happening, so he was like kind of like in a straitjacket. He couldn't get anything done. Now it's the same thing, but without any of the power and with everything he's done in between. So it's like you're ramping up the pressure to an even higher level. It's very unfavorable, right? It's also part of the reason why DeSantis is struggling, because he's on this is where Virgo, right now, running for office as a Virgo is not the smartest idea. I wouldn't do it. I think it's...
So don't you recommend I don't try?
Yeah, I don't think this idea that you have to become, what was it? You want to become the mayor of where? Just wait for better cycles, right?
Yeah.
So with Trump, he's the signs Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. It's more difficult. You have to have something really amazing in a chart to get around that kind of pressure, especially when you've done things that the Saturn can call you to account on. Because the Jack Smith's figures, they're like society Saturn saying, hey, you were doing this, now you got to pay. Because
Right. And that's what's going on energetically, not just in universal, not just in political, but in people's lives. I've been noticing if they were on the wrong track, something comes around and hits them hard.
Yeah. Okay. Well, by the way, so another person who's under Saturn, predictably. Now, by the way, I don't know how you put it. Is this where you say for entertainment purposes? The way I really want to say it is realize the context, right? He is he's older, and he's also under a lot of pressure, because you can be, if you're 80 years old, it's an older age, but if you're a politician, there tends to be a lot of pressure, right? So
Yeah.
McConnell, from March of this year until really next February, March, about a year, he's under a lot of Saturn. He fell down the stairs, then he just had this event the other day where he
And he
froze.
fell before that too.
Exactly.
He wasn't
So
injured.
a period like this can be very threatening, because Saturn there is not the planet you want, under all that pressure already at that age, and probably with some kind of condition underneath, that isn't working as well as it could. So he is under Saturn as well, and especially the whole year, but the end of the year, October, November, December, January, that period is really tricky, because the Saturn is right on his sun for like two solid months. It does a station, not a good thing. I would
Could that
advise
take him down? Could that take him out?
if he's never going to ask an astrologer, but I would actually say to him, Mitch, if I were you, I would retire,
Enjoy
get away
your
from that.
days.
Yeah, no, go and relax, because if you're in the middle of this at the end of the year, you might get another event and you might not recover from that one. So
But did you watch it at all, Andre?
I saw it and it looked really scary. He turned
Wasn't
into
it
he
weird?
suddenly stared ahead, and it's like he wasn't there,
But he was as white can be, like a sheet white.
Yeah, he probably
And
lost
then he
his
just, it was like he was caught in some universal. I have, entertainment purposes only. But it felt like a trans to me as a nurse, but I have, I don't know his thing, but like he had a trans ischemic event, like a little brain fart go on.
Isn't that a bit like a stroke as well?
Yeah, but they're tiny ones, and people will have aphasia all of a sudden, or
Right.
it creates something sometimes like that temporarily.
Yeah, right. Well, and yeah, that's the thing. He's got that. He also has. This is what typically tends to happen. You see more than one thing. There's also so the Saturn and the Uranus cycles are both quite unfavorable, and so and they're circling. You know, you see them moving around, and these are slower cycles. They don't happen just over a week or two or a month or
Right.
two. You see them over a 2 year period. It's very unfavorable now. He's at an age where I would say your best
And
bet
now
is
he's trying to fake it like, oh, I'm okay. He's faking it. He's not okay.
well, and you know
He's
how you
standing
know.
there today smiling for pictures. Yeah, no,
Right.
dude.
But you know how you know because when they asked him, he doesn't. All he says, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." But he won't explain. You know, normally a politician will say something. He's not able to really put it together. That tells you that he probably took a bit of a hit. So,
Something happened and then he
yeah,
felt better and that's what he runs with. You can
yeah,
have these TIAs and then you're feeling a little better. They're not like a stroke that puts you in the hospital.
exactly.
They're trans-ischemic events that sometimes happen. To some people can have a bunch of them, but eventually they lead to a major stroke.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, normally you get an event like, how do you know that he didn't have one when he fell down the stairs? That's what could have happened. He might have had a moment,
Exactly.
but in a way, they're
And
like
I've had a lot
warnings.
of friends have brain scans and later find out, Linda, I found out that I've had a bunch of little mini strokes in my brain because they can
Yeah,
see the damage.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So that one is.
He's
Uh,
determined though. He wants to be the king of the senators again. He's determined.
I thought, didn't he say that he wouldn't run again? I thought that he was gonna.
I'm positive he won't run again, but it could be because he can't run again.
Yeah, well, it's not. Let's put it this way: he's
The
got to
reason
get.
I felt he wasn't going to run again, too, let's say he's healthy enough to run again, was because Trump is going to lose.
You
Or
mean like?
no Republican will get in there to make him king of the day.
Oh, I see. So like they're not going to get the Senate back, right? No, exactly. Yeah, no, that's. I mean, yeah, it's the way I would see it too. I mean, it can seem to people that it's too optimistic, but all the markers are pointing in that direction because even if the Republican Party got lucky and Trump decided he wasn't going to run or he couldn't run or whatever, something happened. Well, who are you going to run? I mean, whoever you put in there, even if you pick your best, whoever, then how does that person answer the issue with women's rights? There's nowhere to go. You're screwed because
No.
they're stuck with these horrible, horrible platforms. And they have to say things like, Biden is terrible. Why? What's Biden done? Oh, he's the crime family. There's no crime. No one ever finds any. He's passed all kinds of legislation. By the way, with McConnell, that's the one good thing McConnell has done in the last many years. After doing all kinds of awful things, he worked with Biden to pass
Right.
important things. What?
Economy's doing its best.
Right. So what's the complaint? You know, the complaint is that we're all going to become communists. Well, what do you mean? How? Anyway, we know the story, right? It's all made
Oh,
up.
they
And
hated our sweet Obama, too. Who could
yeah,
hate Obama? They hated him.
yeah. Well, they hit anybody that is there. They'll find a way. I mean, can you imagine if it was Kamala? And I think they're going to have to deal with Kamala. I really do.
I do, too.
I think they're going to have to, because her chart is really getting stronger and stronger, moving into more responsibility.
And did you notice how I got to tell you, I was a little worried about her because she wasn't as in the forefront. And I thought maybe Biden's kind of kicking her to the side, She didn't have much to say, just like Pence. And then all of a sudden now, did you see some of these speeches? She's passionate, she's involved, she's engaged. I liked it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? That if you think about the situation we're in, to me, she's the perfect advocate because she probably really feels that. When someone is telling you something they're advocating for, it's going to be more powerful if they believe it. And I am sure she believes what she's
Right.
saying. And she's a woman and she's saying this is not acceptable. And she can,
Well, she was furious about
right.
Florida saying, oh, well, slaves, they learned trades.
Yeah, sure. I know.
Yeah, the women learned how to be assaulted and you had to learn how to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And your children weren't your own, they belonged to your slave owner.
It's just, to me, it's so remarkable that you can get people following, this kind of thing. It's almost like some kind of disease that the country has not yet rid itself of because those are the echoes of the Civil War, because back then, there was a open conflict. The South seceded, literally. They said, we're leaving, and then they had to be corralled back. Now I'm almost thinking about if Alabama says, we're leaving, I'd say, okay, you can go. Who's going to pay your bills, Alabama? I'm not kidding. That's what Gavin Newsom said. This is the answer to people say, well, we're going to have a divorce. The red states will go off. The problem is that all the money's in the blue states, and the blue states are paying for the red states. So how are you going to go off and form your own country? How is that going to work? It makes zero sense. So I think it's just that we're in a difficult period, and we have to.
It's almost like these states aren't very educated.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure.
They were blaming things on Obama that he didn't serve in the war, and there was no war when Obama. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't understand that certain presidents weren't, like, they're blaming Biden right now, and it was Trump that was president when these events occurred.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
They don't know how to put it together.
For sure. No, I mean, this is like the thing about the current Republican Party is that Trump infected them with the idea that all you have to do is say things. Just keep saying things, right? The problem with that is then they go into the House and they'll say, look at this and this and this. And then one of the Democrats will say, yeah, but that was happening when Trump was president. Why are you yelling at the Democrats for that? So
they hate that.
To them it's like, I'll just say it, right? And many times the witnesses get really embarrassed because some smart Democrat will say, well, that was what you're telling us about was happening during the Trump administration. So what are we here for? Oh, well, they get all stuck, like, 'cause they were hoping that it would just be the message will catch and people will get all outraged and get mad at the Democrats. The other thing, by the way, in case people haven't realized this, which I think most people have, is that all these people that are out to get Trump, right? Trump is constantly saying, oh, there are all these people that are out to get, they're all Republicans. Almost no Democrats. Jack Smith apparently is a Republican. Jack Smith tilts to the right.
Oh, I thought he was, because his wife worked for a Democratic cause.
Well, I heard that he's right of center in his That
seems more feasible.
Well, there you go.
But his wife, because that's what Trump's running on now. His
wife
is she worked for something for Hillary Clinton or something.
Okay, right. But remember, Comey was a Republican and his wife was Democrat, so that can happen. And Rosenstein, Mueller, these are all Republicans. They're all Republicans.
Now, Mueller was Republican.
Okay, and now who's going to be the witnesses against Trump? They're all Republicans. Mark Meadows, the Republicans that go, I'm not going to jail for you. That's the logic. So don't point at Democrats like, where's Hillary? I don't see Hillary. Do you see Hillary? There are no Democrats here doing anything to Trump, right? It's a joke. Like, all the witnesses that are going to take him down, all of them are Republicans. Those fake electors, what are they? They're Republicans. They probably said to them, you either rat him out or we put you in jail. And so they think, okay, we're going to, fine, we'll help you, right?
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
So what about Jordan? Have you taken a look-see at him?
Jordan, I don't see it. He's going to be there for a while. The last time I looked, I don't even see, to me, he's likely to be reelected again and keep his seat and then just be in the minority, making noise. It's what he's done for years and years. He's probably I didn't study it carefully around the district he's in, but I bet you that district is really, really red. And so
that's like where MTG is from.
Yeah, right. Some of these people,
will probably not win, but MTG could hang on.
Exactly. Like there are a number of people. Remember that guy Louis Gohmert, who was like this close to being, in a mental asylum.
And his family even said we don't know him.
Yeah, and he used to say things like, we should combat climate change by altering the orbit of the moon. I mean, really amazing stuff, right? And he was in some small district, all rigged for red people, whatever. And he was there until he left, basically. So the only thing you can do with people like that is get them to be backbenchers, and they'll have less impact. Because right now,
Rand Paul.
Like Rand Paul.
Understand why people vote for him. He does nothing.
Pretty much, or when he does something that is wrong, bad. Remember, he was the first one to catch COVID because he wasn't wearing a mask, and then he spread it to everybody else.
To the gym,
Totally.
When the shooting happened, that guy shot those Republicans playing baseball. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but that was a Democrat. right?
Yeah, it was a Democrat, but when the shooting happened, he was the first one to jump over the fence and took off.
Oh yeah, well yeah, sure.
Yeah, he didn't stay and help his fellow men.
I know, Mr. Brave. I mean, even his father. I mean, it's just it's a logic that is kind of amazing. The whole libertarian thing is this idea that you don't have to be accountable to anyone. You can just be your own island, like a nomad. Well, what country are you in? Like, if you're going to do that, go live in the Himalayas, right? Like, according to Rand Paul, his father, I mean, Ron Paul, if there's a hurricane, the government shouldn't provide any help to the people that are experiencing the hurricane. They should be able to figure it out on their own. They always talk
That's
like
when
this.
you would see an uprising.
Yeah, but these guys always talk like this until their place gets hit with a hurricane. Then they change their mind. Same way they'll say LGBTQ, that's a terrible lifestyle. Then, oh, your daughter, oh yes, now I've learned. Maybe I should, like.
Oh, these are the first ones in line for the PPEs, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
it's fat money.
It's total hypocrisy, but such is life. I mean, look, the main thing is to, I think, focus on that. At least they're not in power, and we got to keep them out of power until they get their senses back. We've got to, there's no way around it.
So RFK Jr. did a tweet today talking about how families in the 1950s and 60s could have one person working and you could have this and that. Yeah, in the 1950s. But now he's talking about how everything is so expensive and blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't seem to realize part of the reason is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Get some of that money from the multi-billionaires. Didn't Biden said we only need 2%?
Yeah, no, well, like
out the debt.
Did RFK, did he actually give any solutions or did he just talk? Because that guy likes to talk. He just throws things out. I mean, what's the solution? I know 1950s, 1940s. We can talk about any era you want. What's your solution? What should we do? Right?
Right.
I mean, how does that work? So 1960s, one person, yes, it was enough, right? But by the way, taxes were a lot higher. The government was taking in.
My first house was $12,000 and my dad paid $50 a month.
Right.
He made $400 a month as a captain of the fire department.
Yeah, no,
but he took care of my mom and 3 kids.
Yeah, and that's changed. And so what does he propose? He doesn't have a proposal. He just talks,
Yeah, well, $50 a month. We could all live fat paying our rent or our mortgage $50 a month. Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. But
it's at times it changed.
Of course, yeah, of course. And I mean, if you're going to say whatever you're going to say it. But then, okay, so what do you got?
But I got to tell you, Andre, why am I feeling I'm not worried about JFK?
No, you mean RFK?
I'm not the least. In fact, may I say this, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I see more redneck Republicans saying, hey, that guy's pretty good, and going towards him. Trump should be worried about JFK.
You mean RFK?
Or RFK. Sorry.
RFK, yeah, but you're assuming that he'll run independent after he loses the nomination to Biden, right? Because he's challenging Biden, and the odds of that's not going to work. No. So then he has to run third party. Is he actually going to do that? And yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's.
I just think he's a nothing burger.
Well, basically, I think with him, it's when Jupiter gets out of Taurus, which is next May of 24, the energy changes. Same with DeSantis too. DeSantis can hang on, but at that point,
what sign is RFK? Junior?
He's, I think he's Capricorn, so he's getting assistance from the Jupiter and Taurus. So Jupiter.
He sat there in Congress and out lied. I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. We have it on tape. That's exactly what.
Yeah, no, totally, yeah, totally, yeah. It's this is the thing that is that person can, particularly if you're having a good transit, it's like liking to hear yourself talk. You're talking, people are paying attention. There are always people, I mean, the way this country is, just put a box in the middle of the street and start talking about anything and you'll get a crowd. But this doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. It just means you're talking.
Right. So Manchin, he's a nothing burger too. He said if he ran, he would win. No, you won't.
No, Manchin is unpopular. He's unpopular with both sides because he's trying to be a Democrat.
Nobody trusts him.
Yeah, exactly. So I we'll see about the only thing I don't know about this party, no labels, whether or not.
No labels. That's it.
If it's going to get any traction.
I'm not feeling like, if anything, more reds will go towards no labels. I see it's not hurting the Democratic Party. I really do. 18 million, I think, kids are turning 18 before this next election.
Yeah, no,
Kids
that's
out there.
yeah, this is known. I mean, I have to say I'm kind of ashamed that I'm in the boomer generation and all this problem is being caused by the boomers, but the boomers are getting older and someone on the channel a while back was really upset. I don't know who I was talking with, but it came up about how these people will just die off and the person was really offended. But I don't mean to offend you. I just mean to say that if you're a bad boomer, I'd like to see you disappear, at least so you wouldn't be causing all this trouble, because it's that age group, that is really resentful about something. They are upset with something, and they're the ones that go to Trump's rallies mostly and cause all these problems. But the Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, they're not into this kind of stuff. So you need to start cultivating them or your party will go nowhere. It's
Exactly.
yeah, and if you get them to vote, big problem, because that'll drive up the numbers, right? So absolutely, yeah,
I
absolutely.
just feel like a lot of more stuff is going to happen, you guys, before November of next year.
Oh, a ton. Are you kidding? I mean, in a way, that's where it gets a little dicey, because some things will probably be disturbing. You gotta expect that not everything is get out the popcorn and enjoy the movie type thing. Some of it will probably be unsavory, but that's the U.S. too. The U.S. is the way it is. It's the country, that big melting pot, a lot of conflicting interests, and between judges, whatever. But you notice that the pattern, one of the ways you see that this is not working out well for the Republican cause, look at, for example, Ohio, right? So Ohio is more red these years, and they actually said we got to make these initiatives 50% is not good enough. We got to make it 60%, because they know that if they go with 50%, they're going to lose, because they know that more than 50% want women's rights to stand. So it's going to be 60. Well, now it's looking like even 60 isn't enough because
Really?
so they're really getting pushed back in all kinds of places. And when you
Were
start
they able
seeing,
to pass that 60% thing?
well, they haven't tried it yet. I think it's coming up this month, but and the public is opposed to it too. The polls,
Good.
the public is opposed, and you see things like they're like markers of the election trend. When you start seeing mayorships in towns that should be red and they're electing a Democrat, that is not good, because that means the public sentiment, which should be upset with, they should be saying, oh, Biden is in power, we're sick of those people, let's put in the Republican. No, they're putting in the Democrat. That's signaling to you that the public is not on your side, right? So getting all hung up on 40% of people are really think this way. Yeah, I know. What about the other 60? And how do you think this is going to work? You're going to have to count votes, and you're not going to have enough votes. So even if you have many people, that's not enough. You need more than 50. That's the logic.
Well,
And you don't have
thanks to the Supreme Court, you're going to see an all blue nation coming up here.
Well,
The
I don't know about
Supreme
right
Court,
away,
by
but
taking away people's rights on a lot of, especially women,
yeah,
gays.
gays, yeah. And this is where, remember in the astrology, that planet that came in 2005, that planet strengthens the position of women, people of color, anyone that has been left off the table, that has received less than their share. All those groups are rising. It's an unstoppable force. You can fight it if you want. It's not going to work. You'll get constant
There's
pushback.
a lot of things that this right-winged Supreme Court, I heard it sort of like they've awakened the sleeping giant. That's what I heard.
And by the way, use your imagination. Go back to the Civil War period, right? And imagine those guys had a time machine and they were looking into this TV. There were no TVs, but imagine they were looking and they were told, this is what is happening in the future. And they would see African-American judges, African-American prosecutors, women judges, women prosecutors. And who are they convicting? Then they would see the white guy. This is for the people that think there hasn't been any progress. There has been a lot of progress. Yes, we need more progress, but don't kid yourself. The country has evolved, And a lot of things are happening that are actually quite good, right? That, I mean,
Well,
look at
I
it.
just had a conference with, on one of my videos, a mediumship conference with Emmett Till. He came
Oh
to
yeah,
It's a
poor guy.
beautiful light.
Yeah.
And he said that his death was pretty bad, except he was unconscious while some of this brutalization was taking place. And that the real hero is he calls her his moms. He says, he doesn't say mama, he says moms. My mom's was the real hero, because she had to live with seeing her mutilated son and then stand up against the white man. Because can you imagine being the mother of a son that was mutilated?
That's
Having
horrible.
those two guys admit that they kidnapped the kid, and a white jury still says not guilty.
Yeah, okay, that's another example. I saw those pictures in that film of all these white people in the court.
Yep,
It was pretty clear. No conviction, nothing, right?
nothing. That's how
What
it was.
happened? Okay, what happened with Arbery recently? All of those guys went straight to the slammer for life, right? They
Yes.
chased down an African American. All he was doing was running, whatever, and a white jury convicted him. So that's progress.
That's
Now,
progress.
that doesn't mean there isn't more to do. There's a ton more to do. This is how Obama always says, we need to go toward a more perfect union. Yes, but don't say we're always in the same place. The pain continues.
Yeah.
Pain, yes,
his
but things have
mother-
changed.
Him and his mother were part of this rebirth that took place. And no, it took forever, okay? But he's saying that they were chosen, like they were ones who were supposed to sacrifice their earthly lives for the sake of the well-being of the African man and woman, because it was terrible.
True,
And look at this
true.
bull stuff coming out of what's his face's mouth in Florida about, oh, well, they got, these are the white nationalists holding on as hard as they can.
Yeah, yeah,
Just trying to make, and the thing is, these families raise children with that ugliness,
yes.
But
That's right.
even my mother was a Mexican Native American. She didn't like other Mexicans.
Oh no, yeah, no, that's true. That's the thing that people often don't realize. Look, yeah, I know. 'Cause my father only from his country. Like, remember that thing? If it's my country, it's good. Or that there was a thing on Saturday Night Live where there would be the Scottish guy, and the way he put it was, if it's not Scottish, it's crap. Or remember the big fat Greek wedding, and everything had to be Greek.
Yes.
That's the mentality of the tribal mentality, and in a way, that's what makes the U.S. special, because there are so many different people living here,
Yeah.
different nationalities. I think that's what makes it great. That's why I'm so against the Republican thinking. Oh, we got to exclude this group, that group. It makes the society stronger, right?
Right, right.
But luckily, more people believe what I believe, which is great. I mean, I would be in despair if I thought, we don't have the numbers to do
And
this.
what's interesting, I told all my viewers, I said, my dad, the white man, Irish, English, Dutch, German, was the least prejudiced. He never said a word about any other nation. Never.
Well, that was good. You got lucky. You got lucky.
Never. He never said, if you girls bring home such and such man, I'll, never.
Yeah, no, and it's healthier. There's no question, because it's when you get you make those divisions and you say these people, those people. I mean, even like the RFK thing. It's such a stupid, impolitic thing to say when he said, "Oh, COVID was set up to help out
Oh my God. that was
all the
terrible.
Asians and the Ashkenazi Jews," and you're thinking, but that means that you're saying that you're saying that there's like, in a sense, you're a fascist if you say that. You immediately put yourself in that
Nothing
category.
like his dad. Nothing like his dad.
It's so crazy, and it's
And
again
his
making
poor
those
family
divisions.
has to come out and say, we do not approve of my brother or my uncle, whatever's words.
Yeah,
It just makes them sick. It's just like like Gomer and all those other people in office.
yeah.
And that lady from Fox News, where her own family says, we don't know her.
Yeah, no, and the only way, maybe I'm mistaken about this. Maybe it'll be, I don't know, something completely different. But the logic would be that the only way to cure this disease is they have to lose enough times to realize this is not a winning formula.
Right.
And by the way, that might work against Trump, because we are not yet in the thick of this battle. The thick of the battle starts pretty soon for the Republican nomination. And don't forget, all these people, they're all power hungry. All of them want to be president. And don't underestimate the possibility that they start telling the truth around, you know what, if you vote for Trump, we're going to lose. It's that
Right.
simple. If you put him there, we're going to lose because he's a loser and he doesn't have support. Like they say now, he's got too much baggage. That's the understatement
what
of
they're
the
saying,
century.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the century. But that's what Chris Christie keeps saying. This guy's going to lose. That's what DeSantis should be saying. If you were courageous, he'd say, listen, just look at the record. We're not winning with this guy. I know he's a great guy. We love him, Trump, but he's losing. The country doesn't like him. That's the truth, So
Right.
if they all in unison start talking more like that, that'll hurt him as well. Because
Because I don't care. Everybody's saying, do you think they'll present him with a deal? Listen, you drop out of this race, promise never to run for president again. We'll let you go. No, I
I wouldn't.
see him so sure he's going to win.
There you go. Well, I wouldn't give him a deal.
So delusional.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's the thing in a way, the irony is that a liar eventually turns into his own, his delusions become what he is. Like, I honestly think that Trump is already a bit demented. I think I've always felt that Trump 20 years ago wouldn't have done this. I think he was more sensible. I think he's become a heedless, senseless,
Even
crazy
when
person.
he was running he got real mean and everybody liked it. And then he thought he was cool.
Yeah, no, and it's like if your ego gets big enough, it's the same as insanity. If it's big enough, you lose perspective on everything. It's kind of like that thing where Hitler, apparently, when they tried to kill him and it didn't work, he thought it was a sign that now he was going to win. And his generals were saying, no, it's not good. A year later, he had to commit suicide. A year before, he was telling Mussolini, they tried to kill me and it didn't work. This is a sign that now the war is going to turn around. Where do they both end up? Not in a good place, right?
Not in a good place.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing I found interesting about Hitler, just like with Trump, he was consumed with anything the media had to say about him.
Yes.
He read all the papers. He was consumed with what people were saying about him.
He was
That's
a media
just like
man.
Trump.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there are a lot of these. In fact, I bet if you go back, well, by the way, Stalin too. Stalin was heard to say, the secret to running a country is controlling people's minds. And how do you control people's minds? With the things you say. Propaganda. That's the Russian approach. That's what Putin does. Putin controls the media. You see these countries, I don't know if you heard that thing about how Elon Musk, they're calling him a hypocrite because he took over Twitter supposedly to improve free speech, but apparently all these dictatorships like China, even India's a democratic country, but they tell Twitter that certain things have to be blocked, and he blocks them. And according to the stats, ever since Musk has been in charge, there's more blockage than before. So it's like up to 80%, and it used to be 50%. So he's actually a total hypocrite because if you believe in free speech, then just say, no, we're not going to do that. Then if you don't want to be on Twitter, don't be on Twitter. And he's
I
cooperating
got
with them.
taken off Twitter because somebody was was mad about the gay flag. How dare I don't know if it was, I think it was in Washington. How dare they post that flag? I said, but in the meantime, it's okay for people to post the Confederate and the Nazi flag.
Oh, I know.
And I got taken off Twitter for saying that.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have to go over to Threads or where are you going to go now?
Oh, I'm on Threads now, but I also got me another little Twitter account. Because I like the news on Twitter. I like the news. You got a lot of people there.
I like how you did that as you snuck in.
I stuck in behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I get some cash out. No. So listen, do you have time for just a couple more questions?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Netanyahu with Israel, what's anything
Not
on
good.
that?
Netanyahu at minimum until at least the end of this year, but next year could get taken into. He's really late. He's a really late Libra, and he's been stumbling in and out for the last couple of years. It's the Pluto energy, and it doesn't leave until the end of 24. So that's a lot of runway to get through, and there's a lot of opposition in Israel to what he's doing. The only thing I don't know is whether or not, I don't know if you heard this, because they passed a law to prevent the courts to have as much power as they have.
Yeah.
But then people took that to court, like challenge this. So then I thought, well, if the court says that their law is no good, you get a constitutional crisis because you get two branches arguing. I don't know how Israel works that way, but bottom line for him, it's not a good thing. It's complicated.
I've always seen him taken out. Now, I don't necessarily mean physically shot or anything. I feel like he's escorted out of the building or something. But I've heard he's under a lot of pressure from the real right-wing people that are around him.
He is. But I mean, think about the, they're trying to make it like the court apparently in Israel can say no to something by saying this is not reasonable, which is kind of broad, right? Because imagine if we give our court that capacity, Clarence Thomas will just say whatever he doesn't think is reasonable, this is unreasonable, and throw it out. But then they tell you, what did they rule against Netanyahu? He was trying to put in a guy as minister who was under multiple indictments, like a total criminal. So the court said, this is unreasonable. Yeah, it is. I mean, they're just being normal people. So Israel is in a bit of a crisis. I think that a lot of this is the last dregs, the last bit, like Pluto has to get out of Capricorn because that's the sign of government. So the next sign where it goes in for the next 22 years, that it'll start in 2025, that's not a good terrain for fascists. But it's been, since 2008, it's been growing and growing, and we're kind of at the end. Because you noticed, I don't know if you noticed in Europe, in Spain there was an election, and the hard right was expecting to do really well, and they lost seats. In fact, the more democratic government, even though they got less votes, they're going to be able to stay in power. So these are, because they can make partnerships with other parties. So these are victories that are very important because it's moving it back to the center, kind of like what happened in England. Brexit was 2016 at the peak of all that insanity. And now in England, they're saying, we're not happy with Brexit. We think we should have stayed, right?
Yeah, I told you.
Exactly.
When it happened, I said they're going to regret this.
Right. And other markers are Putin is a smart guy. Now Finland and Sweden are NATO. Now he's got a bigger border to defend. And sooner or later, Ukraine is going to be in NATO too. So he's totally, surrounded by NATO.
Listen, I got to tell you, on the news today, they were talking that we don't get that information, but apparently he's being really criticized in Russia.
Yeah, because he's not this Mr. Strongman anymore because they saw his weakness, right? Some guy, his chef, the guy that cooks for him, was taking the army up to Moscow.
and apparently he's told everybody, okay, men up to age 60 can serve in the military now. Now you're going to take husbands from these wives who may even lost their sons? Oh, no.
It's complicated as heck. I mean, one of the things about Russians that you have to be very careful is Russians tend to be very good with computers. They're great hackers. So I guarantee you that as much as they follow the leader and they're that type of society more than the US, a lot of, especially the young Russians, I guarantee you they're totally onto this guy. And that's why he's asking the 60-year-olds to go, because a lot of the young guys are probably going. He's lying.
Well, what are you saying? That with the computers, they're going to take down Putin?
Well, no, because whenever people are crafty with computers, they get the real information. They'll find tunnels and they'll be getting the real truth. And then people like that are not going to cooperate with you. Like these people in Russia, they live like in the 1920s when you couldn't communicate with anyone about anything. So you tell them a story and off they go to war and they die for you. They don't do that now. Many of them left the country. They're having a lot of problems.
Especially anybody with any money.
Yeah, precisely. So it's doing a ton of damage. And Putin's situation that's not good. It's just not good.
He's really going downhill. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I got to ask one last question.
Sure.
Ginny Thomas.
Ginny Thomas, when I looked at hers, that's a no time chart, just today. It's this year until next spring, I believe. So either we see something or it's unlikely that it would go beyond that. But we could see something, yeah, because she's getting linked. See, the thing with Ginny Thomas is that she put in writing messages encouraging people to do illegal things.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing when you have a special counsel looking into it. I'll just say that.
Mark Meadows, I'm sure, already gave Jack the text messages where she's saying, you got to do something. This was taken away from him. She really thought Trump won. I can say that. She really thought he won. But even when they were getting the correct information, she didn't Stop.
Yeah, I mean the only thing with her is that my guess is because she's the wife of Thomas, which would cause a real major stink if he say she got charged, right? So the only way she's going to get charged is if Smith is 100% sure that he has her
Yeah.
dead to rights on something. Otherwise, the way it's going to work for her is she'll be really uncomfortable for another year because the cycles are really hard for a year, but then it'll pass, right? And that's possible too. I mean, I am not going to
Well,
say
and the other
100%.
thing is he's going. I've seen Thomas going
Well, that's for separate
sooner than
reasons.
later.
I think his health is suspect. He's another one that he was in the hospital a while back, and that's
And
trending.
they hush hush, they don't say nothing.
No, well, of course, yeah, no, yeah, no, but I mean that doesn't
He had to
mean
have a hyaluronic soap suds enema, and I heard he's doing real well now.
you're joking, right? Is this another one of your jokes? I know it's sort of true, though. I mean, the imagery fits. It fits totally, you know. If only
I
when
know
you,
you're like my friend Dan. He always says, "You're joking, right?"
yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be great if you did that and it cleared your mind as well? It sort of does in a way, but it'd be great if like it totally cleared your mind.
Well, what's the weather like where you're at?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We had a bit of rain, which was good because then the flowers and everything can grow more because it was getting
Right,
kind of
right.
yellow. But yeah, it's mostly sunny. This
It's
part of the
not
world,
horrible hot here. It's nice, but we
yeah,
have, 103 degrees.
yeah, it's harder where you are. We only get those heat things every so often and for short periods. Most of the time, it goes to the 80s at most, and then at night it cools off. So it's ideal in that sense. It makes up for all the rain we get in the winter. All right. Well, it
All
was
right,
great
my
being
friend.
with you again, and I look forward to the next one. It's even possible that by next week we'll have an indictment to talk about, right?
I think even to buy today or tomorrow.
It's very possible. Yeah.
I don't know if I said, yeah, I sent that to you. They were already putting up barriers in Fulton County in Georgia. They already got the barriers on the street. They're not doing that. And then 2 weeks later, they're going to announce they're doing that because something's coming up now. That's what interests me because I felt, and I think we discussed this, bada bing, bada boom.
You know, isn't it amazing with that?
I felt Jack Smith and Fanny, bada bing, bada boom. So if they announce today on Jack Smith, maybe today, tomorrow, and I think Fanny's right behind him.
Yeah, it's very possible. Yeah, very possible.
Fanny's the one that's going to take the other ones with him. Jack doesn't do that right away, but he will. First, he's going to hit Trump, and then he'll be.
Oh, I see. So
Fanny
will do the thing where she brings in all those.
She's bringing them all in, including Lindsey Graham.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey Graham has it rough for a while too, so that could be why.
Right.
That could be
All
why.
right. So send me the link.
All right. Take care.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.